Welcome everyone to our webinar on Agile Marketing. My name is Maria Mattarelli and I'm very excited to share with you some of the latest techniques that we've discovered that work in applying Agile to marketing. What we really want to get is twice the results in half the time. When you think about the most commonly used Agile approach, Scrum, Jeff Sutherland, one of the creators of Scrum, he always says that it helps you do twice the work in half the time. Well, that's exactly what we want to do with Agile marketing, is we want to get more results in less time by being focused and applying some of the core Agile practices. So what you're going to learn in this presentation about Agile marketing is how to focus on customer relationships that carry the most value. Also, Agile marketing is about adopting an iterative process for fast results and sustainable growth. It'll also help you with organizing your marketing into channels of filtering, educating, and active selling. And finally, creating the systems and messaging to find and nurture your ideal customers. So as you can see, with Agile marketing, it's going to help us to focus on the right people that we want to reach. Also, having an iterative process so that we can adapt as we go. We can also be very strategic in how we entertain or interact with potential customers, and then make sure that all of our actions are targeted toward making sure that we create that ideal customer experience. A little bit more about my background. I'm Maria Mattarelli, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. And I do a lot of work with companies on how they can be more agile in how they work. And what we mean by that is just helping to get more results in less time, being more effective in how we work. I'm one of the certified Scrum trainers through the Scrum Alliance. There's only a couple hundred certified Scrum trainers in the world. So I spend a lot of my time traveling from location to location and teaching teams how they can start to apply Agile in how they work. Now, a lot of companies, they use Agile in IT. But as many of you may already know, Agile can be used outside of IT. It can be used in many different ways. And one of the things that I'm exploring is how to go to that place where we can get benefits outside of product development or software development. Now, why marketing, you might be wondering? Well, marketing is tied to revenue, so that kind of made sense on where to start first. I've also co-founded the Agile Marketing Academy, and in applying these Agile practices to marketing, we've seen some incredible results with businesses over the last few years. And I'll share some of that with you as long as a case study. Please feel free to tweet throughout this presentation, hashtag Agile Marketing, Agile outside of IT, at Maria Mattarelli. Please also connect with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions about how to take this to the next step and put it into practice, we also offer training throughout the world on how you can start to apply these concepts in practice. Okay, so let's get a little bit deeper into Agile marketing. What is the goal of organizations? Well, a lot of organizations that are using Agile want to be truly agile and have true agility from end to end. In fact, that's one of the things that came up at the Munich Scrum gathering earlier this year, is the concept of full business agility. And people talking about, how can we get these results? You may hear about people talking about scaling. Well, scaling your practices is one way to look at being more agile. But what if we went into each department and specifically spoke their language? And that's what we've done here, is we've looked at what it is that, how is it that marketing people think and talk? And how can we connect with them in their realm, not teaching them concepts from product development or software development, but really meeting them where they're at. So a lot of organizations want to truly be agile, but how can an organization be agile if the only department that's agile is IT? Now, over the last couple of years, I've had an opportunity to train and work with people throughout the world. And one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of these agile challenges that people have are very similar. Now, that might be surprising or maybe not so surprising. A lot of companies, people always say, oh, well, we're different or we're unique or, here's why that might not work here. And the funny thing is that all the companies say that, right? And so one of the things I've noticed is that these similar challenges tend to run true across different locations, different industries. So whether it's geography or the type of business that a company's in, there's still similar challenges throughout them. And I've definitely traveled to find that. It's empirical evidence I've discovered. So it's interesting in a way, but it also helps us to know that a lot of the concepts that we talk about, they do hold true across industry. Now, you may be familiar with the State of Agile survey that version 1 does every year. We have an excerpt here from the 10th annual State of Agile survey. And one of the questions they always ask is, why do companies adopt Agile? Now, a couple of those reasons that kind of rise to the top are accelerating product delivery and improving business and IT alignment. Now, these are two areas that Agile marketing can help with. If we want to get a product to market, why would we go through developing it and not even think about how to market it until it's done? So we might have our IT department be agile, and they're like, okay, we've iterated, we've gone through, we've got a minimum viable product, and now we're ready to launch. And okay, now we hand it over to the fence to marketing. And if they start a traditional marketing approach, it might be too late. And not too late in the grand scheme of things, but they could probably still put the product out there, but it's not as efficient as it could be. We're not leveraging all of our capabilities in truly being agile. So imagine if as you're developing that product, if you're also working on how to market it, if you're doing short iterative tests to see what the interest is. Now imagine if you could give that feedback back to the development team. How powerful is that? Now, also with improving business and IT alignment, one of the barriers is, I think, a little bit of mindset and also maybe terminology and process. So if we speak different languages, if we use different approaches in how we work, how can we expect to be aligned? So these are some of the areas that Agile marketing can help with. And these are challenges that we've seen industry proven come across the survey time and time again. There's many different Agile approaches that you may be familiar with. Some of the most common approaches being Kanban, Scrum, and extreme programming. And many companies also use Lean to an extent. And what we've done is we've looked at these different approaches and we pulled out the best Agile practices that apply with marketing. I'd like to take a moment and share a case study with you of a company that we've worked with a couple years ago. We started working with them and share with you exactly what we found when we started applying these concepts. Now, as you look at this chart, I'm curious, what do you think of this business's growth? Is this good? Now, you might be thinking, well, yeah, there's a huge spike at the beginning and it's definitely trending upward. Yeah, there's a couple ups and downs here and there, but that tends to happen. But overall, the trend is up. Well, you might think that at first glance, but some people look at this and they say, well, what's the context? I don't know. I might need more information in order to answer that. And when you really look at it at a larger view, and you realize that this is over the course of a year, that's really not a lot of growth if that's a year's timeline. That's a bit of stagnation, actually. I mean, it appears that we're having a little bit of growth toward the end of that year there, but we had this initial launch that went well, and then we couldn't really go beyond that point. We plateaued. And you may see businesses do that, or you may have experienced this yourself. But I believe that what's happening here is we haven't truly connected with that ideal client base because we don't want to just probably stay the same, nor could we probably survive as a company with no growth like that for a year. Now, sustainability is one thing, so that's good, that's okay when you're starting out, but that's not really what we want to truly thrive in business. Now, as we started working with this company more, we started applying agile techniques to how that they worked, and specifically with their marketing. And we actually got over 780% growth in a year. And even within 6 months, we had hit over 300% increase in revenue. Now, that's exactly the type of results that we want to get with Agile. When you hear about the exponential possibilities in increased productivity, why can't we also apply that, what we see in product development, over to how we market? And the answer is we can. And I'll share with you some tips on how to do that. One of the things that we did is we really took the time to think about who is the ideal customer, and we actually ran 5 short campaigns online to validate if we were right. Now, what's interesting, if you look back to the chart that I just showed you, what happened was we were using a blanket approach. Now, have you ever heard somebody say, when you're talking about who their customer is, oh, well, anybody could benefit from this. Or, this could be good for any type of business or any type of customer or any person could use this product. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe, but the real question is who should be using the product? Who is the person that could truly benefit from your product? Not just who might use it. Because fuzzy targets don't get hit. And when you try to be everything to everybody, sometimes your messaging just doesn't connect because it's too broad and too vague. And you might end up being nothing to anyone, right? So let me share a little bit more about this company's background. This is an acid-free coffee company. So they sell coffee that has no acid. So your first thought might be, well, that sounds pretty healthy. A lot of people are going organic these days. They're looking at ingredients in food. And so what the founders of this company thought is, let's market it based on the health benefits. That's clearly our market differentiator. So they did this marketing approach, and that's what got them that initial growth. Hey, this is a healthier alternative to coffee. Hey, try a free sample. But they only went so far. As we looked at growing and how we could increase their sales, we thought, that messaging seems a little bit vague, and who is truly the customer that needs them? So we started writing user stories and identifying personas of people that truly needed this product. And we ran 5 campaigns that were aligned with these specific personas and user stories. So as we look at this, the first campaign that we ran was for people that had Crohn's disease. Because we thought, who truly needs acid-free coffee? Well, probably somebody that has a physical ailment or has a negative physical reaction to it. Now, the second campaign, we ran for people that had colitis. The third campaign, people with ulcers. The fourth campaign, we ran for people with pylori. And the fifth campaign, just to split test it, we ran it against someone that would sign up to just get a free sample. So these are very short tests that we put out there just to gauge interests and see how many clicks we got. Now, my question for you is, where would you put your marketing dollars if you saw these results? Yeah, I'd probably put my dollars into number 3 as well, right? I mean, we had about 1,000 from pylori and then the free sample offer, but ulcers is really where things went through the roof. We had over 7,313 points of interest. That's more than 600% more interest than the other campaigns we ran. Now imagine if you just took the time to run these short tests before you dumped all of your marketing dollars into that single campaign that you just assume should be what you market. So the free sample, if we put all our money into that, we're only capturing a fraction of the people that could truly benefit from our product. So by starting with the user story, identifying the personas, and thinking about who truly needs our product, what customers truly could benefit from it, rather than who can we sell to and how can we convince them. It's a completely different mindset shift. And we're getting empirical data that we can now build upon. A few of the key elements to agile marketing is we want to be light, fast, and flexible. And as we saw these incredible results in this first case study I'm sharing with you, we then actually launched a case study program. And we invited companies from a variety of different industries to participate and validate these concepts and that these concepts worked. Now, as we have these other companies from various industries, we started to see some common trends of things that just work. Even people that thought, oh, I don't really think I can reach my customers online, or I'm not sure if this approach is going to be the right thing, or I don't even think my customers know how to use a computer. Just by doing some quick tests online, we actually got some incredible information back. In fact, one of the first people that signed up for the case study program, he actually launched his first campaign and got over 30,000 US dollars in sales. I mean, we looked at that and we're like, wow, this is incredible. So we're seeing massive growth, and we're seeing incredible sales just by taking the time to think about who truly needs our product and how we can, based on a user story, adapt an ad to meet that persona and those true needs. So with this approach, we pull together these best practices, and that's what we put into the content for the Agile Marketing Academy. And we said, these are the things that we're seeing work. It's not just theory. These are actual techniques that are industry proven. And by being light, fast, and flexible, and by using an iterative approach in how we market, we can see these incredible results that we are already seeing applying Agile in different ways in different departments. I'd like to take a moment to walk you through how we put together these campaigns, and specifically the framework that we use for this Agile marketing approach. You may be familiar with Alistair Coburn, one of the creators of the Agile Manifesto. And he recently came out with the heart of Agile. Because when you look at all of these scaling frameworks out there, and you look at people, what appears to be over documenting how to be Agile, some of the creators of the Agile Manifesto, they look at this stuff and they say, we didn't intend there to be books that are inches thick telling people how to be Agile. That's not the point of Agile. It's not light, fast, and flexible. It's starting to get a bit complex. So maybe we need to go back to the basics. Maybe we need to go back to the simplicity of what was intended by the Agile Manifesto. And Alistair introduced the heart of Agile, which at the core has 4 main parts. So collaborate, deliver, reflect, and improve. Now, as we look at collaborating, what we want to do is really connect with, what is the right messaging and needs that our ideal customer truly has. And collaborate on coming up with that. We want to brainstorm some things. We want to write those user stories. We want to create those personas, and then we can do those short tests to validate those hypotheses. The next step is we want to deliver something. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to take something, put it out to market, and validate, is this the right messaging? Are people interested? Do they care? So we want to collaborate and then deliver something so that we can reflect on, how did that work? Was it effective? What does the data say? And as we analyze how effective our campaign was, we then can take the steps to improve. So let's make a change, let's make an adjustment, and then let's iterate from there. And when you talk to people that are in internet marketing or that have applied marketing online, a lot of times they'll tell you, well, this is exactly how we have to work. Why would we do it any other way? But we've also worked with clients that they're dumping tens of thousands of dollars a month into ads, and they have no idea the effectiveness of it. We had a client last year where they were doing radio advertising, television advertising, and advertising online. And they were spending over $14,000 a month on radio advertising alone. And I said, oh, okay, wow, that must be working really well for you. How many customers do you get from the radio ads? Or what's your cost of customer acquisition? So for how many dollars do you have to spend to get a customer? And what's that customer worth to you over time, the lifetime value? And they looked at me and they said, we're not sure. And I looked at them and said, what? Like, you don't know? Like you're spending $14,000 a month and you have no idea how effective this is? And they just never really took the time to analyze it. Now, I don't even want to tell you what their TV budget was or what they were spending online. I mean, just the radio ads alone is painful enough. And this could be as simple as having a different phone number on a radio ad versus a TV ad versus an online ad. And if you have a different way to track that information, then you can go back and see, okay, was that effective? Did that work? So for every campaign that we run, we want to go through this iterative cycle within the cycle, if that makes sense. We want to be adjusting the messaging. We want to be adjusting to whatever's most effective. And we'll realize that only once we get that empirical data. Only once we take a look and see, is this effective? Because what we don't want to do is just turn on an ad and leave the faucet running and just wait and see what happens. That is not a good strategy. And we've worked with several companies where they turn on their ads and they just let them run for months and they have no idea how effective they are. The two biggest challenges that we've seen with companies in their marketing space where Agile marketing helps is that the first challenge is that they don't have a true message to market match. So they have messaging that they're just throwing out there, but they're not really sure if they're truly connecting. Just like with the coffee company, where they're saying, oh, this can be healthier, this can be healthier. But my question for you is, do you drink coffee? And if so, how easy would it be for you to switch if someone just said, hey, this could make you a little bit healthier? Or do you know someone that drinks coffee, where they go to that same coffee place every single day? They have that same brand that they brew every morning. How easy is it to get you or to get them to switch? It might not be that easy based on being slightly healthier and living, a year longer? I don't know. Is that measurable? I don't know. So what we found is that a lot of companies, they don't truly have the message to market match. But with a coffee company, as we started to really look at people that needed acid-free coffee, that had pain when they drank coffee, they really needed the product. And that's a message to market match. Now, the second thing that we found is that companies have too long of cycles for their campaigns, where they just let the campaign run and they're really not sure, was that effective or not? Are we getting our return? They just, throw the dollars out there, and if sales come in, they're happy with that. Well, that's not the most ideal, and we're probably being kind of wasteful. And even worse, we could be missing out on a market that we aren't even aware of because we didn't take the time to reflect. So with the campaign, we want to be iterative in the campaign and how we work. We want to make small adjustments and split test. Let's try a sales page online that has a video. Let's try a page without a video. Let's try this type of ad and then try another type of ad. And let's compare them, making one change at a time to see what is it that really works. With Agile marketing, we start with the user story. Now, it's really funny, or maybe not funny, depending on how you look at it or what perspective you're coming from, is when I was working with Nick Cementa, who co-founded the Agile Marketing Academy with me, and we're talking through, what is the user story. He was attending one of my Scrum training classes, and he heard me talking about user stories, and he actually started to get upset And he said, why did nobody tell us about these? Like for years, we've been writing these ads, and the marketing department, the advertising department has been putting like blindly creating features and benefits and putting it out there. And you have this information this whole time about who wants your product, for what reason and why. And nobody had the thought to come and tell marketing, these are the features we're creating, and here's who we think will use it and why. And we're literally duplicating that effort. And so as you think about this user story, it applies so well to how you market a product, because we're looking at who's our ideal customer, what's our solution, and how does this solution make their problems go away? That's really what we're trying to accomplish here. Also, as we think about the persona and we think about the avatar of who we're trying to reach, we want to think about, where are these people? Who are they? What are they doing and what do they like? So as you think about that ideal customer, we're really breaking it down to location, behaviors, interests, and demographics. Now, does this remind you of any online social media platforms as you think about these things? You might be thinking about Facebook. You can check in, you can post a location, you can list things you're interested in or like them, and it pretty much tracks your every move. If you look at all the data that they're collecting. So while it's a little bit creepy on one end as the consumer, it's amazing as a marketer, because we can really get specific on honing in on who it is that could benefit from our product. So these are all criteria that we want to take into account as we think about how we're going to craft our messaging to really meet that user and their needs. Have you ever heard of the Dunn Manifesto? Many of you may be familiar with the Agile Manifesto. There's actually an Agile Marketing Manifesto that was created several years ago. I was excited when I saw it and realized I agreed with everything on it. I was like, oh, phew, good. All right, we're all on the same page. But the Dunn Manifesto is something that is kind of interesting when you think about the mindset shift that has to happen when we want to get something delivered in an iterative fashion. The first item here is, there are 3 states of being: not knowing, action, and completion. So accept that everything is a draft, because this helps get things to done. There is no editing stage. Pretending you are knowing what you are doing is almost the same as knowing what you are doing. So just accept that you know what you are doing, even if you don't, and do it. Now, this is kind of a fun one that I like to look at and think about, because when you think about it, like, not many people are 100% certain on things, right? Is this the right feature? Is this the right way to market this product? We might not know that for sure, but that's okay. Let's just put something out there and figure it out. Let's test it and see if it works, right? So I really like this concept here of, if you pretend like you know what you're doing, it's so similar to actually knowing what you're doing that you might as well just accept that you know what you're doing and just do it. Because doubting yourself isn't going to help anybody. So we don't have to be perfect. And I personally struggle with perfectionism all the time. So I get this myself. You may have these tendencies, or you may know people like this. And if you can just get something done, that allows us to get feedback and iterate. So really, these concepts can really help to change our mindset about, it's okay, just put something out there. Let's get something out there and let's test and let's validate our assumptions. Banish procrastination. If you wait more than a week to get an idea done, abandon it. Now that's kind of funny and a little bit harsh, but when you think about it, was it really that important? Take it off your list. If it was important, maybe you would have done it. Or maybe you need to focus on what the roadblocks were that were really in your way. The point of being done is not to finish, but to get other things done. Now that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. So once you get something done, what I've noticed is I actually, when I get something done, I get momentum and I get in a groove. And you may have noticed this too with yourself or with your teams. In fact, not too long ago, I was realizing that I wasn't really very regular on my posting on social media, especially Twitter. And I thought, I'd like to get better at that. But I don't really feel like I have a lot of time. I get busy if I'm an all-day training, like other things come up. So I decided to hire someone to help me do social media. Now, what's interesting is that as soon as I hired someone that was posting every day, I started getting more interactions. People would comment, people would retweet, they'd like it, they'd maybe say something back, and then that would trigger me to reply something back, or even just seeing what was tweeted would inspire me to tweet something else. So the whole point of what I'm saying here is that just having someone do something that I didn't seem to have the capacity to do and get done actually helped me get more things done and helped me also post and add value and be more consistent in something that I was aspiring to do. So it's a bit of a momentum that you can get as you're starting to get things done that helps you get other things done, if that makes sense. Once you're done, you can throw it away. So don't dwell on it. Don't sit there and analyze it. Like, move on. Laugh at perfection. It's boring and keeps you from being done. Now that one's kind of funny. Laugh at perfection. I mean, I value quality so much that I know that I am the roadblock many times. But if you can kind of laugh at, oh, what's perfect anyway? That makes me human, right? If you mess up in a presentation or speaking about something, it's like, well, you know what? That's okay because now people know I'm a real person. So, don't worry about being perfect. Just get something done so you can iterate upon it. People without dirty hands are wrong. Doing something makes you right. Now that is interesting to think about because when you think about theories or people talking about something, like they haven't really proven it. So if someone's talking about something but you actually go do it, you're right because you've actually proven it, right? If you think about it, they just still have a theory. So don't listen to people that haven't done it. Go and do something and get that result, and then you'll know more. Failure counts as done, so do mistakes. Now, I like this one. I like this one a lot. So failure counts as done. So what we're saying here, we don't have to be perfect. It's okay if you mess up because we learn from that. So you still get credit for doing something if you did it and it didn't work. Because you know what? We learned that it didn't work. And boy, is that nice to save days, weeks, and months of something that we could be putting time and effort into, not knowing that it didn't work or it wouldn't work, right? So it's okay if it doesn't work the first time. That's the whole point of being agile. Destruction is a variant of done. And if you have an idea and publish it on the internet, that counts as a ghost of done. So really what we're saying here is just get some stuff done. Like let go of trying to be perfect. Don't worry about if you don't think it's might be the right thing or if you're doubting it. The whole point here is if we can get something done, we learn. Did it work? Did it not work? Or, there's only so many options. When I talk to people about how do you plan your first sprint and using an agile approach, often, they'll say, well, but how much work can we do if we've never worked in this time frame before? Well, how do we know if our estimates are accurate? And I point out that there's only 3 possible things that could happen. And I ask if they can guess what those things are. And I state that it's very obvious just to give a clue. And the 3 things that could happen on estimating how much work you can do in a week is either you're going to be right on, or you're going to pull in too much work, or you won't pull in enough work, you'll finish early, and you could pull in more. So regardless of what happens, you're done, and you now know your velocity. You now know how much work you can do in a week. So quit fretting about if you've planned the right amount of work and just run through a sprint, do something, and then you'll see at the end of that sprint how much work was done. So it's not about being perfect in our estimates. It's about doing something and seeing what that result is. Done is the engine of more. Now, this goes back to that concept that we talked about a moment ago, where that you get that momentum, that cadence. As you start to get one thing done, that helps to inspire you to get something else done. So look at the Dunn Manifesto. I want to encourage you to think about these things. Do you struggle with any of these concepts? Do you feel like you can embrace them and really challenge your thinking of what it means to be done? Does it have to be perfect? No. Try something, work on a cadence, and learn. Because even if you fail or if you're right, you still learn. We also need to gather data as we use Agile marketing, because that's what we can reflect upon to improve. So when we look at, what can lead to growth, which campaigns are working, let's use empirical evidence to validate our hypothesis. We don't know until we actually hear from the market. Now, with this coffee company, what's really interesting, that chart at the bottom left there are multiple periods where we had to actually pause the ads. Now, why do you think that was? Well, the reason that we paused the ads is because we actually ran out of inventory multiple times. Now, I'm going to call that a luxury problem, because that's a good problem to have. We were so effective in our marketing campaigns that we can't keep up with production. Okay, that's cool. Like, let's pause the ads. Let's get caught up and make sure that our process is in place to scale. Now we can start to think about how can we scale delivery and look at our process to see, hey, what can we do to keep up with the demand? Because when you get rapid growth, well, now that creates good problems, right? And those are the problems that would be better than not having enough interest. With reflection, we want to look at what went well and what could be better. We don't want to necessarily dwell on what didn't work, but we do want to acknowledge what didn't work. If something's not working, stop doing it. A friend of mine shared a video online the other day, and he said, I'm going to, stop doing all of this high dollar consulting, and I'm just going to use this guy's approach, and I'm going to charge $5 and reference this video. And in the video, this lady comes into an office where it appeared to be like a coach or a therapist of sorts, and she was explaining this problem, and she had like this irrational fear. And she's explaining it, getting to all these details. She's getting a little worked up about it. And he had told her up front, I'm only going to charge you $5, and it's only going to take 5 minutes to fix your problem. She's like, what? Really? How can you be sure? And he's like, oh, I've got a track record. 100% of the time, in 5 minutes, I can fix your problem. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she goes on to tell him, this whole irrational fear that she has. And he says, okay, are you ready? I've got 2 words that are going to fix this for you. And she's like, oh, okay. And she gets excited. She pulls out a notepad. She's got a pen ready to write it down. And he looks at her and he goes, stop it. Just stop it. Like, just stop being afraid of, of water, of swimming, of rain, or whatever it was, right? Or stop being afraid of heights. Like, stop looking down. Like, just stop it. So if something's not working, just stop it. And, just focus on what went well and what could be better. Don't spend time doing something that doesn't work, but constantly look at how can we improve. And we want to keep that future focus look. We want to look at what can we do. So we're still going to analyze the data. We're going to acknowledge what didn't work. We want to really focus on what's working and what could we do better. The options now come to, what changes do you want to make at the end of an iteration? Well, we could choose to make an improvement, continue using what we did, or lose it. So again, back to the basics here. Take what's working or what's not kind of working or maybe kind of okay, right? And let's make it a little better. Or if it's working, let's continue to do what we're doing. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Or lose it if it's not working. Don't continue doing something just because, well, that's what you've been doing, right? It doesn't make sense. So that's why we have this iterative approach here, to build in that reflection point. As we look at an online funnel, have you ever clicked on an ad or something online and it says, "Hey, get a free access to this white paper. Just give us your email address." Or have you ever signed up for something like a newsletter and then you start getting emails that invite you to say join a webinar? Then you join the webinar and they say, "Well, if you found that valuable, here's like a uh, something like say an ebook. It's only $27. Oh, by the way, if you like that ebook, come to our workshop. It's only $500." And what's interesting is that that's an online marketing funnel. You have found yourself slipped into an online funnel. And with this funnel, you sometimes don't even know that you're in it when it's done really well. Because if someone's providing you value, then why wouldn't you want to keep learning from them, right? But that's the difference in trying to sell someone and truly finding the people that need what you do. Is if you provide them value, you can nurture them along until they become a customer. Now, one of the biggest differences between a normal online marketing funnel and an agile marketing funnel is that we start from the middle out. So we take the users, potential users online. Now, this also works for stuff that's not online. You can still do this with postcards, mailing promotions or ads. You can do, radio, TV. But the reason that we reference online marketing is because you get data fast and very thorough. Think about it. Think about, you can see how many times people click on an ad versus how many times they sign up versus how many times they actually make that purchase. So, if they sign up to learn more, that's nice. But if you don't actually get conversions to sales, well, is your marketing really that effective? So you might want to look at that. So this can work offline, but a lot of offline marketing actually all points back online if you think about it. If you get a flyer in the mail, usually there's a phone number or a website address that you can go to. There's maybe a QR code that you can scan. So a lot of times, even offline marketing points back online, or there's a website address for people to go to, right? So as we look at the internet users, the Agile marketing funnel starts from the middle out because we want to get to these active customers. And as we filter them, we want to educate them and then create that offer and approach them with active selling. But we want to provide value all throughout the way so that we know that these are the right people that could truly benefit and incrementally move them along that process or that ascension path. So if you have a landing page or just a simple website that might have information about your product, as we target people that might be interested in learning more, we want to take into account the location, demographics, interests, and behaviors. So all of that information as we write the user story to think about, what's that persona we're targeting in the who. Then we take the what and we highlight those features with the why. Now, as we're doing this, we're also capturing information, we're retargeting, we're also doing maybe drip campaigns, or using a lead magnet and then repeating that. Now, this all leads to a purchase or a qualified lead. So to capture someone's information, this could be simply saying, enter your email address and get a free something of value. Get a free white paper, get a free top 10 list of this, get a blueprint or a roadmap. Retargeting, that's where when someone visits your website, have you ever gone to a website or looked at making a purchase and then you go to another website and you see an ad for the thing you were just looking at on another website? Or you see a company that's promoting training and you're like, man, these guys are everywhere. You might have just fallen victim to a retargeting campaign. And what I mean by that is it's an approach where you take a pixel, and when someone goes to look at an ad or look at a product on your website, when they go somewhere else, you can actually retarget them and have ads show up on other sites. Now, this is why a lot of websites ask you to turn on your cookies in order to use their site, because they are going to be tracking all the pages you click on and getting data on where you click next. So a drip campaign, that's going to be where you sprinkle out valuable information. So that could be like an email sequence. Have you ever signed up for something and given your email to someone, and then you get an email maybe today, and then you get one the next day, and then the next day? So maybe it's once a day or twice a day or once a week even. That might be a drip campaign. Now, they say it takes many touch points to convert someone into an active customer. What is it with sales statistics? It's like you have to get like 8 to 12 no's before someone will say yes. And most people stop at like the second or third no, or sometimes the first no, right? Well, it's a similar thing with people being exposed to your content. So it usually takes many touch points before they decide to make a purchase. So a drip campaign can help with that by nurturing them along and educating them on what the value is of your product. A lead magnet is something of value that you would offer a customer in exchange for their information or exchange for getting them to take an action. So it's something that's intended to magnetically draw your ideal customer. So if you look at people that are trying to buy a home, and maybe they need good credit for that. And if you have a credit repair company, you might have a lead magnet that says 5 tips to improve your credit score. And someone might be interested in that and say, hey, well, I'd like to know that because I'm trying to buy a home and I want to get a really good interest rate. So you can create multiple lead magnets. They can be written, they can be video, they can be audio, many different kinds. So as we approach from the middle out, looking at this funnel, we're taking into account our potential customers and looking at turning them into active customers. And we're constantly filtering as we educate them and then presenting the offer. So that is all to turn that person into a qualified lead or get them to make a purchase. So that's one unique difference in using an agile marketing approach. Here's one single view of how this all works together. So based on the heart of Agile, to collaborate, deliver, reflect, and improve, as you look at the collaboration, we're writing those user stories, we're thinking about those personas, we're really spending some time thinking about, what is it that people need. As we have our Agile marketing curriculum, we walk people through 15 critical questions to think about on what's the problem we're trying to solve, and then what's the value of the solution. And as you go through that thought process, we're thinking about who is that ideal customer and really honing in on that persona. Then we write our user stories that we do our short iterative tests on. So just like with the coffee company, we did those 5 quick campaigns where we said, okay, let's just gauge initial interest, then we'll figure out who to run ads to. And you can do that with a $20 ad spend. You can do that very quickly, very inexpensively, and then start to put more promotions and ad dollars behind it. So as you deliver, this is where we step into that funnel system. So we want to have an offer that we put out there, and we'll run that targeted campaign. So this is where we iterate within the cycle, because our campaigns are iterative. We can split test them. We can run 2 at the same time and see which one performs better for a campaign. So we're going to make probably one change at a time though, because you want to be able to see what is working and what's not working. If you make too many changes at once, can't really tell. So then we reflect, and that's where we review the data. And that's where data tells us exactly what's real. Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule, where 20% of people at a company produce 80% of the sales or the results, right? Or you look at 20% of the population has 80% of the wealth. If you look at the 80-20 rule, it really tends to hold true over time. So what we really want to do is think about, what is our 80-20 hypothesis? Where do we think we can focus 20% of our effort to get 80% of the results? And let's run a campaign to see if that's true. Let's review the data and then let's look at how to improve. So this is where we may split test and say, well, I feel like we got an okay response, but I think it might be better. And what if we tried this? And just by doing a simple split test, we can validate what's working versus what's not working. And we can empirically see what the data says. So this agile framework for building and maintaining online marketing funnels helps you because with each short cycle, your team will deliver a new campaign testing a specific message on a targeted audience. And every time we run a campaign, we learn. And because we're using short iterative cycles, that's going to help us make sure we're truly reaching the right audience with the right message. And that's where we get that message to market match. And that's what leads to that massive growth in revenue. And that's how applying Agile to marketing can truly benefit your company. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this webinar and learn more about Agile marketing. There's several people that are familiar with Agile, and there's several other people that are familiar with marketing. But when you put them together, there's this really powerful thing that happens. We're taking things that we've seen work in a different department or different area, and we're taking those Agile concepts and applying them to probably the department or area that could use it the most because it's tied directly to revenue, and that's marketing. So we're very excited to see all the incredible results that we're getting with clients, and it's really incredible to see how fast people are grasping onto this concept. And another thing that I'm really excited about is that we are offering a certified Agile marketing specialist workshop here in Bengaluru, India. And it's going to be on December 16th and December 17th this month. So I'd like to invite you to join us and learn more about how you can specifically apply these techniques and then take them back to your company and show them how Agile can work not only within IT, but beyond IT, and not just in other departments, but in the department that leads to revenue, because that's really powerful. And that's really what Agile is about getting results. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to the website bit.ly/CAMS India. And we've got more information about this course where you can register and reserve your seat. It has been absolutely incredible to see the response of people applying Agile to marketing, and we'd love to invite you to join us to join the revolution. Be on the cutting edge of Agile being applied in the most effective way that companies can truly benefit from. So I'm very excited to be in India right now. We're running a series of Agile workshops, and one of my favorites is Agile marketing because it's just so exciting to see the results. As you apply Agile to product development, it's nice, and I've worked with lots of companies, and a lot of Fortune 100 companies in using Agile. But when you're working with $1 billion company, it's really hard to see what the impact was of the IT team that I worked with, getting to market a little bit faster, adding more features a little bit sooner, building in a little more quality, and, customizing and prioritizing properly. Like, okay, that's nice and that's great, but what's the impact of that? And one of the coolest parts about Agile applied to marketing is you can actually see the results and see the effectiveness immediately. Thank you again for joining us as we talked about Agile marketing on this webinar. It's just one of the latest ways that Agile is taking over the industry, helping people to get twice the results in half the time and be more effective by using this approach that's light, fast, and flexible, by being more relevant and more responsive to the things that are happening, constantly adapting and constantly improving. So thank you everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at any of our upcoming events or workshops, and I'm most excited about having you join us for our Agile Marketing Workshop here in Bengaluru, India.